Welcome back to another episode of After the Final Rose with Alana and Dante. We did not get an episode out last week, but to cover up, which kind of leads into this week's episode, at
Mhm.
the end of last week's episode, Sarah, who did get a one-on-one date with Matt, and she got the rose. At the end of last week's episode, she fainted during the rose ceremony,
Mhm.
and that is sort of how we left things off
Yep.
last week, and it kept us wondering going into this week what is going to happen.
Yeah, we got to see because last week it ended with her fainting. Obviously, we didn't see which girls would go home, so this week's episode opened up with that. Um, and I was a little surprised. We saw a lot of the girls mentioned that initially they thought Sarah was faking it and doing it for attention, which obviously, like, we don't really know the case. She could have actually been blacking out, like she said, or she easily could have been doing it for attention. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but once she finally, Matt consoled her and everything, which is really nice, but I don't think the girls were too happy with that. We
Mm-mm.
did have 4 girls go home. 4 that I wasn't actually very surprised that they were going home because I don't really think that we've gotten much from them, which was Marilyn, which per last week, her and Victoria had this
Mm-hmm.
tiff. Do we know if Matt sent her home because Victoria kind of ratted on her? Who knows? I don't really think he had a connection with her, anyways.
No, I don't think so either.
And then Alana went home, Kristen,
Mm-hmm.
and Ileana. So 4 girls that, I actually did like Kristen in the beginning. I was hoping she'd stay a little bit longer, but like I said, not really much from all 4 of them.
Well, and Alana was the first one who kissed
Yes.
Matt, so
Yep.
she got sent home quick after that.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't tell if it was fake or if it was real. But as we got into this week's episode, that's where I really started questioning whether it was fake or not. But
Right.
after the rose ceremony, we go into the group date, which is the next day, and they bring Ashley I back. Most of you know, Ashley I has been in many different seasons, like
She was
Bachelor.
just in the last one.
Yeah, and they did bring her in last season with for Claire slash
Mm-hmm.
Tasha's season, but it starts off with the girls walking in it's like a room, a performance room, and Ashley is in the dark reading a love letter, and it's like it's like a sexual love letter, and turns out to be Chris Harrison's book, which one is a
I knew he
love
wrote
how
a
they just
book.
plugged that in.
Yeah, so I knew he wrote a book because I've seen it on Amazon when I've looked at like other Bachelorette contestants because most Bachelor people write books,
Mm-hmm.
and his showed up, but I didn't know it was like an erotic
Yeah.
like fantasy romance book. I cannot see Chris Harrison doing that. I just thought it was like a biography or a tell all kind of thing. I did not
Mm-hmm.
know it was like a fictional love story. But
And I saw a lot of tweets on Twitter, and everybody was like, "Way to just subtly promote your book on the show."
that book is so old too, which is
Really?
like it's not a I'm pretty sure I actually want to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that book is like a very old book unless he's come out with 2.
No, I don't know.
Um but yeah, I didn't really like I don't know. It was just a bit you could tell Bachelor's getting bored, like not bored, but they're running out of ideas to do because
Yeah.
obviously they're limited. Um
Mm-hmm. It's
and
just I've definitely noticed this. Well, obviously as they've been in the bubble, they've been stretching their boundaries a little bit. Like
yeah.
we got a lot during like Tasha and Claire season, like sexual feelings and like half naked men, and they're starting to push like their norm. So I don't know if that's a
Yeah.
good thing or if it's just getting kind of uncomfortable, but they are definitely starting to change a little bit.
Well, it is what's it called? It is rare for ABC because ABC is a
Mm-hmm.
network where, like a Netflix, it's very easy for them to get away with more. Where obviously they're on a network um, channel,
Also owned
so
by Disney.
yeah. Okay, so I think this book came out in like 2015.
Okay.
That's how old it is. So it's not like a new book that he's trying to advertise. So it was just really random. Um, but anyways, Ashley I is reading that script, which was so uncomfortable. And then I actually, even though it was uncomfortable to watch, I did think it was really funny. Like you totally got to see
Yeah.
a good side of these girls and see how like humorous they are. And um what's it called? I love how right when they said they're having a live audience, I knew it was going to be the other
Oh
girls
yeah.
because they did the same thing with Tasha.
Yeah.
And that was so, I mean, they laughed about it. Besides Sarah, like,
She wasn't too happy.
yeah, Sarah, you could tell her face, she just kept going like
Mm-hmm.
this, and she was so uncomfortable. All the other girls made fun of it. They had a good
Mm-hmm.
time. I get why she felt a little comfortable, but it's not like she's watching them do this stuff with them. They're just reading up a
Yeah.
made up story. Like, I don't know how she could say that like she felt like it was like him cheating on her when like
Mm-hmm.
these girls are literally just like reading something they just made up in their brain. Like,
Yeah, I definitely think that the girls were uncomfortable at first, but once they got into it, I don't even think, well, at least for those who were involved in the group date, like they just like completely forgot that this was like The Bachelor, and they were just like dying laughing. Like
yeah,
they thought like the other girls were so funny. They didn't care that they were all talking about the same guy.
yep,
They just thought the whole thing was so funny, and you could just
yeah,
tell like when they first went in, they were like, "Oh, I just want this to end," and then as it ended, they had the mindset like, "I don't want this to end," because they were just
yeah.
dying laughing.
They had such a good time, which is fun to see because not all, I mean, you tend to see with the guys season, the guys get very like competitive, which is not like a surprise, where the girls are competitive, but they also like I think enjoy each other's company a little more than the guys
Yeah.
do. And so yeah, it was fun. They had a great time with it. And then they were like, all right, let's go do like an after party together, which is even more
Hmm.
fun. Um, I thought Anna's was hilarious. Um, I what else did I write? I had that Sarah looked like she was unraveling, like she was ready. You could just tell by her
Yeah.
facial expression. She's someone that wears her like emotions on her face. She was gonna like freak out.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm trying to remember who had some good things written. Like I really liked Christine, or I'm trying to remember her name. Katie. Sorry.
yeah,
I
Katie's
thought
was
her.
good.
I thought hers was really funny, and you could already tell
She's
night
funny.
one that like that's totally her element.
Yeah.
Um, and she was really funny. And then honestly, I was so shocked. I'm not a fan of Victoria this season, but I thought she
Yeah.
was hilarious.
She was hilarious. I don't like her. And I thought, like, there's two ways you can go about it. You can either make the most of it and just be like
Hmm.
so funny and make Matt remember you, or you can play it safe, which some of the girls I think did. Like, we didn't see a couple of the girls, which makes me think theirs was
Yeah,
just like very basic. Um,
probably.
but hers just had people dying laughing, and you could just tell like this girl's got a personality. And that's why, like, I've talked to so many different people who are like, Victoria won't stay long. And I'm like, yes, she will, because she has a personality for TV. So, like,
Oh yeah.
she will. They love her. And I'm sure, like, maybe Matt doesn't have feelings for her yet, but he probably
Mhm.
enjoys like her being funny and her personality coming out.
Yeah. Yeah. She's my how to say this. My view on her changed constantly in this episode. One
Yeah.
minute I like her, and the next minute I just can't stand her. But I just don't see a connection with them.
No, no.
But I guess we'll see. But then after that, I think I think Rachel's. I also liked Rachel's.
Yeah.
Um, Hers was funny, and I think everybody seemed to like it. And you could kind of see they are starting to form a stronger connection together.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she was the last one, and then moved on into the date or the dinner portion, like the cocktail portion of the
Yeah.
group date, and that's where things started to stir up.
Yeah.
And so Sarah, we talked about before, she was on edge during the group date as she was in the audience listening to the girls talk about sexual feelings with Matt and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so she decides to come in and crash the group date. And so, this is not the first time this year
No.
we've seen that. Because we saw that in Tasha and Claire season.
Right. Like it
Um,
happens.
yeah. But she came in, interrupted Katie talking to Matt, and just seemed like their conversation just started too. And, that stirred up the pot and it did not sit well with the girls.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because she kept saying like, I feel like I have a target on my back now. And it's like you had to know that by doing something like that, the girls, like, no matter who you are, it could have been anyone,
Mm-mm.
the girls are gonna be pissed. And the fact that she already had a one-on-one didn't really help her situation either. But I was pretty proud of Katie this whole episode
Oh,
because
yeah.
she handled it very well, and like she walked in and completely interrupted her and was like, can I have him back? Like I was in the middle of talking with him, and obviously that's always so uncomfortable because I personally wanted like Matt to say something, but
Yeah.
he is very like he doesn't know what to do either. I think he's still getting used to the show
Oh,
and
yeah.
this whole situation.
See, that's one of my biggest pet peeves every season when this happens is I wish the Bachelor or Bachelorette would say something, especially when you're interrupting a date. Be like, I'm sorry, but she is right. You did interrupt, and it was nice talking to you, yada yada, and go back to Katie. But we never see that. We just kind
Yeah.
of let the contestant win every time.
Yeah. But yeah, so she interrupted finally, like Sarah, it was funny because she was like, oh my God, I can't talk. Can you leave? And then she was like, yeah, well, can you walk me out? Because she didn't want to leave yet. So then that
Mm-hmm.
caused Katie to still be like waiting. And I thought it was interesting that when she went in to talk to the girls, like she tried to act like she was being the bigger person. And she was like,
Right?
I want to apologize to you. Like, I'm sorry. I wanted you to hear it from me first. And it was like, that Katie ran right back to them telling them, like, that they didn't hear it from you first. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not really like the case.
Yeah.
And then also, you have to understand, like, we'll get to it, but these girls have a right to be mad. However, I
Oh, yeah.
think that this whole thing was a little too dramatized. Like,
Oh, yeah.
as much as they deserve to be mad, they also have to realize this shit happens on every season.
See, I see both sides of it. Sarah's not here to make friends. She's here for Matt.
Right.
But also, she should be respecting their group date and
Yes.
their time with Matt. So I see both sides, and it's kind of whether or not which side you're on. I just feel like
Right.
if I was in that moment and I was those girls, I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed
Yeah.
off.
One of the girls made a good point because Sarah was like, well, I really needed to talk to him and I didn't know when I would have the chance. And the girls was like, well, you already know you're on a group date, so why couldn't you pull him aside on the group
Yeah.
date and talk to him then? But obviously, like, she didn't want to. I think
Mm-hmm.
part of it was what the girl said, which was part of it was she was waiting for him to beg her not to leave. Like, she just wanted attention.
Mm-hmm. Or why can you not? I mean, producers know. Why can't you ask the producers and be like, when's their group date over? Can I go over and talk to Matt when he's back at his room or whatever?
Yeah, that too.
Don't interrupt the group date.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of interrupting and I guess disrespecting the girls like that. And then um as everything blows over, um not all the girls got to talk to Matt. I think there were like
No.
4 or 5 of them who didn't get to talk to Matt, and
Yeah, which I was confused by
that's
that because he seemed very uncomfortable, and I couldn't tell if
he. Oh yeah.
it was him being like, I'm done now. I talked to Sarah, now I'm annoyed and I want to leave, because then he gave Rachel the rose and was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
guys, like that's it. And it was so weird, like the way he ended the night. He was just like I think Victoria was like, all right, bye. Like,
Yeah, I think you could tell he knew that I don't know, because right off the bat he just seemed uncomfortable,
yeah, the
and
mood
I think
switched.
he could tell maybe that like the girls were pissed off, like they
Yeah.
didn't get time with him. And I don't know if that's like him being like, all right, we're gonna shut down the date, or like did time run out on how long they're supposed to be on these group dates for.
Right.
But like there were 4 or 5 girls who just didn't get to talk to him unless we didn't see it. But I'm pretty sure
True.
some of the
That's true.
girls said they didn't get to talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah. That was like really, because at the end of the day, I really don't think there's a time limit on these dates. Like, I feel
No.
like they just either producers decide, like, all right, we're gonna cut it off now. So there are girls that didn't get to talk and we have a little bit of
Hmm.
drama. Or maybe
Yeah.
Matt was just like, I'm kind of done. I'm over the date. Cause he has to say, like we saw it with Claire.
Hmm.
Claire was like, I don't really want to continue anymore. Like, let's just end the date. And they cut it off.
Yeah, and well, speaking of Claire, I saw so many comparisons on social media to Dal and Claire to Matt and Sarah, just because of like him. I'm him just all eyes on Sarah, and that's how Claire
Hmm.
was with Dal, kind of. But also, I wanted to add during after the whole conversation with Sarah and the girls, Victoria ended up like chasing down Sarah as she was leaving, and I thought that was like sort of a big attention grab for Victoria.
Yeah, I was
Um,
confused by that because she doesn't seem like the person, like that was pissing me off because they all kept saying like, "Oh, we really care about you," and it's like not
right?
once have you guys actually said to each other that.
Well, and what's so funny is I think it was night one, or maybe it was the second episode where Victoria was like, I don't know. She says something along the lines of like, I don't care about you guys, and that I'm here for Matt.
Right, right.
I think I don't know, because she tried comforting Sarah, but she literally only made it worse.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
and I just wasn't a fan. But I did respect Katie because she handled it with like class, I guess.
Hmm.
And she said what she had to say, kind of mended things, and then just left.
Yeah, I thought for the one being like the one who got fully interrupted, I think she
Uh
handled
huh.
it very well.
Oh,
But
definitely.
then obviously like after that whole date, it's well, we already know that Serena has a one-on-one with him. So then like Matt has to show up to pick up Serena, and like I love how all the girls are like piled on the couch. Um I did I don't know. It was tough because I did think that it was kind of the wrong time for Matt to talk to Sarah because once again he's making like these dates about her. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think that he probably just wanted to like be done with it and be, I don't know, maybe not, because then he went in there and was like all like hugging her and like jumped on the bed on her. Like I think he does have a little thing for her and wants her to know like I'm still thinking about you, kind
Are
of like
you
Claire and
are
Dale
you talking about the end of the group date or before the one-on-one?
before the one-on-one.
Okay, that's what. See, I did like. I don't know, because he did like not interrupt because it didn't start, but like he took time away
Yeah, that's what I
from the
mean.
date, and like I'm not a big fan of that. But then when he came back, he was like, I would do that for any of you guys.
Yeah.
But like, would he? I I don't know. I just think it just kept dragging on,
Yeah, it
and
did.
that interrupted the one-on-one. But speaking of the one-on-one, it was really nice. Serena and Matt, they went on like a little picnic, and um, we haven't really got much of Serena yet. She hasn't really
Mhm.
talked much, but she is young. She's 22 years old. And Matt's what, 29. So I think this
Yeah.
is definitely an interesting pick for one of the first few one-on-one dates this season.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like their one-on-one date. I thought that they make a really cute couple. I could definitely like see them like look wise, I could see them together. And I thought they looked really good together.
Mm-hmm.
And um I think we learned a little bit more about Serena, and I like that she was
Yeah.
kind of challenging him. Like she kept asking him questions that I think is a little like early on. We don't really see, she
Mm-hmm.
asked if he's ever been in love and how many past girlfriends he's had, serious relationships, all
Oh
those
yeah.
like questions. So you were able to see that they definitely have the same morals and values, but I was a little confused by his answer to saying like I feel like I had love. I would say I'm in love when I was a kid, but maybe not now. And I don't know. It seems like I feel like he's
Well,
hiding something.
he might be, but I think he was referring to the fact that, when he thought he was in love, but as he's grown older, he's realized that wasn't love,
Yeah.
and that love is not what he thought, and that it's
Hmm.
more, I don't know, advanced or special.
Yeah.
But there could be something we don't know. But also to add, which I think is something to keep note of if Serena goes really far this season, is that she mentioned her dad was not too, I wouldn't say, yeah, she said he wasn't
Yeah.
too supportive of her going on the show, and that um he had questions and he just wasn't sure if this was right for her. And so I think
Yeah.
that's something to definitely, like, keep in mind if
If
she
they have a
makes it to
hometown.
a hometown. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
that'd be
that'll be
something
interesting.
to keep your eye on.
Um, as we see, I think this is the same hot tub that him and Bree just had their date on,
Oh,
which is
100.
funny.
What's so funny is I was thinking back how many appearances this hot tub has, like how many seasons it's been in. If it's the same hot tub, because it does look like the same hot tub. This was in last season uh, with Tasha and Claire. It was in Hannah B's season with Jed. Or maybe it was Peter. It was also in JoJo's season, I remember. If it's
Mm,
the same hot tub, it has been in so many seasons.
that's funny.
Like
Yeah, I
I
wouldn't
could
be
just
surprised.
remember all, because it's that same wooden one,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is really funny.
Um, so as they're on this one-on-one, we get to see how the girls pretty much brutally attack Sarah. So Sarah's been in her
Mm-hmm.
room all day hiding, which I do think that she needs to face these girls, but I also don't get why these girls care so much. Like you've
Yeah.
all said, you're not here to make friendships, you're here for Matt. So why do you care if she wants to sit in her room and not hang out with you guys?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make it clear when I watched this episode, I agree with how the girls feel that they are angry that she interrupted. However,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they attacked her so brutally that like I was so speechless because
Mm-hmm.
it hurt me. Like I personally don't think I could be in that situation and not start crying. Like they were
Mm-hmm.
so vicious. Victoria reminded me of like a high school bully. Like she when
Oh
she the oh my god, it literally
yeah.
makes me cringe when Sarah was like, I've made relationships with you girls, and Victoria was like, wait, who's she talking to? Is she talking to us? And I was like, oh my god, like there are some girls here that probably are friends with her. And it made me mad
Mm-hmm.
that like no one, not one person, like I don't care if you are mad at her, you still can stick up for this girl. Like
Oh
not
yeah.
one person was like, okay guys, like we don't need to attack her, we can tell her how we feel without viciously like
Mm-hmm.
destroying her. And no one did that. And I just like could not believe like between her and Victoria, MJ, Kit, like they all just,
Yeah.
oh my
Well,
god, it was so hard to watch.
mhm, and I think it was Kit that was like, "Yeah, I never wanna see your face again." And for her to
Yes.
say that as, like, a 21-year-old, bold.
But that's why, like,
Bold.
out of her mouth, that doesn't surprise me because, like,
Oh,
no
no.
offense to
She's
you
young and
being
immature.
20, but she's very young. Like, she's
Yeah.
not, she technically is in the age that you'd still be in college. And I wouldn't, like, I'd expect that
Yeah.
behavior from her. But some of the other girls, like, I don't know, Victoria literally reminded me of like a Mean Girls bully that's like, I'm the popular
Mhm.
girl and you all have to do what I say. And I was just like, this girl, like, you don't know her background. You don't know what she goes through on a day-to-day
Yeah,
basis.
yeah.
And like, yeah, she messed up and she did something stupid and she deserves to be called out for it, but she doesn't need to be bullied. Like she was
Mhm.
straight bullied. And if I were her, I would have left too. Like I wouldn't have
And
stayed.
yeah, what was I just about to say? So, I didn't I'm trying to, like, I do think they needed to stand up to Sarah. It was just how they handled it and how much they went after her. Because, like, I was
Mhm.
not a fan of, like, what Sarah did in terms of, like, one, interrupting the date, being not like sitting in a room all day and like not confronting them. But then
Yeah.
how they handled it and just went at her constantly, that's where
Yeah,
the
that
issue was.
and it was like she couldn't even say something without being interrupted and being attacked. And like
Mhm.
it made me mad that when she came down, MJ was like, I was so concerned for you. Like, I didn't know where you were. I didn't know if you were okay. And it was like 20 minutes ago, you were ripping her
Mhm.
apart to the girls. Like, you don't care if she's okay. You don't
And
care if she's
then
up in her room or not.
and then when they got up, Sarah tried to talk to MJ and she said no.
Yeah, she was
She
like,
said
no,
I
I'm
needed to
good.
cool down. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
But so then, which I really liked this conversation, uh, after she talked to Katie, and Katie was the one that she was interrupted. None of these
Yeah.
other girls were necessarily interrupted
Right.
in their conversations, and she sat down with Sarah and just had a real conversation with her, and she, like, I'm trying to think if I say this. She realized that it's not like everything it looked to be. Like there's really more stuff that Sarah has going on
Right.
because we've seen Sarah talk about her dad and how she labeled it as terminal, and he might not have a lot of time left. And that's one of the big things weighing on her. And I think like I think she needed to know in these first couple weeks that it was Matt because she didn't want to waste her time here because her dad was at home. And Katie
Yeah.
really understood that. And she talked about how her dad passed away when she was
Mhm.
younger. I believe it was like 7 years ago. And so I think that was a big connection. And um, I I
I
think it
think a
made
light
things
bulb
better.
I think a light bulb went off in her head and she was like,
Oh, definitely.
"Oh, okay, I need to go." Like, cause then she went downstairs and addressed all the girls and finally stood up for Sarah when I wanted to be like, "You're kind of a little
Oh, yeah.
too late." Like, this is the
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
that you should have said. We need to be classy and you don't know what's going on in people's heads beforehand. Now it's too late. This girl's going home. Um,
Yeah.
but as we see, like Sarah shows up and says goodbye to Matt, which I thought you could tell that Matt did not want her to leave, so it was kind of
Hmm.
hard to watch. But I don't know.
I was afraid Sarah was gonna. I'm not afraid.
I thought she
I
was gonna
thought
stay.
I thought she was going to stay, and that's where I was really worried because I wouldn't know how the girls would handle that, knowing she was
Right.
going home and then she stayed,
Yeah,
and that's where I
same.
was concerned. But they did end up talking, and uh, Sarah did end up going home. She left, and Matt let her. You could definitely tell like he did have a connection with her, and that was tough for
Mhm.
him. So I'm wondering, will she come back?
I know I was thinking that too, but I don't know because she sh- she'd be in for a rude awakening if she did.
Oh yeah.
Not like they if she thought they were hard on her now, they're gonna be hard on her again.
Oh, definitely. But all we constantly see it though, like those
Yeah,
connections that are built and the person decides to leave or they're sent home and then they come back and try to fight for their heart again.
yeah, yeah. But that's how it ended. So we got to see her leave. She obviously broke down
Mhm.
in the car, and you could tell that I think she was, like you said, second guessing leaving.
Mhm.
Um, and then we see next week we finally get 5 new girls. Which, oh my God, it
Mm.
reminded me of Tasha season. Like these poor guys can't
Oh
get a
yeah.
break. But with them, I mean, I don't really think it matters. I don't know why they're bringing 5 more girls when they clearly like had the
Yeah.
biggest season ever. It doesn't really make sense. But um yeah, next week will be interesting. There's looks like continues to be a lot more drama.
Mhm.
More girls getting into some arguments and some fights.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see because we've seen some relationships form between Matt and some of the girls. And then at this point, I'm also picking out who's going to be in Paradise this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Paradise is going to be huge this summer because
Yeah.
we have like 4 seasons to fill
Yep.
because of last year missing out. And so I'm
Oh
really
yeah.
excited for that. But also, we have news in Bachelor Nation that just broke, I think, yesterday, but I know it's been rumored for about a week now that Claire and Dal have split up, which
Yep.
honestly, I'm not too shocked about.
No,
I
I'm
figured it would
not either.
happen sooner or later, but I think it happened quick.
Yeah, quicker than I thought, but
Mm-hmm.
very soon. I thought it was interesting that the couple from a spinoff of Bachelor that performed on
Mm-hmm.
their date,
Oh
like that was
yeah.
their last date, they broke up.
Yeah.
So honestly, the real question is who is left that is still together, because it's starting to feel like no one's still together anymore. But
Not many
I
people.
think I'm very curious who ended it. I think it was Dale ended it. He I thought all along that he was kind of playing this narrative so he could become relevant. And then once he
Probably.
ends things with her, kind of like Tyler C, like he can go do whatever he wants. He's a good looking guy. There's probably so many girls right now that have already
Mm-hmm.
DM'd him.
Well, what's interesting is that I'm trying to think. Maybe back in November, December, he was spotted at a bar with some girl, and there was this whole thing, and they said they were friends, and I think Claire backed it up, and that's where I was questioning things. I don't know. I never saw them really lasting. Um, but he could be somebody we see on Paradise or as one
I
of the
was just
next
gonna say,
Bachelors.
I wonder. I would hope they wouldn't put him as a bachelor because of
Oh,
how fast, like they could have something like that on their hands again. But Bachelor in Paradise, I could see them maybe bringing him on there, depending on
mm-hmm,
the timeline, if it's like too soon or not.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. Oh, also something I wanted to add that came out this week following the episode was Sarah, who we just talked about on Matt seasons, her involvement with G Easy,
Yeah, that was
which I
random.
think was really random. I don't know how long ago it
It
was.
was in March,
Okay, so I
back in
think that's
March.
really interesting. But
Yeah.
that pretty much wraps it up here on After the Final Rose with Alana and Dante. We covered all of episode 3 of The Bachelor on Matt's season. We had some eliminations, we had somebody sent home, and we had a lot of girls fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're all fighting for Matt's heart. So I'm excited to see the rest of this season and who ends up taking Matt's heart. And that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah. We get a what's it called? Group date next week. And a
Yep.
lot of drama, and I am so looking forward to it.
Yeah, and make sure if you don't already, check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Make sure to follow us at ATFR_podcast on Instagram as well as on our YouTube page to watch the live video if you're not already. So thank you, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.